Aaron Rodgers. Who else would we talk about? Aaron Rodgers. The Jets officially activated his 21-day practice window to return from the injured reserve. What this means is that he has 21 days to practice. It's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case people don't know, he can be evaluated by the Jets over the next 21 days and practice with the team. It still count as an IR guy, which is key because
a roster spot.
He doesn't take up a roster spot, but he's allowed to practice with him. They can evaluate him. And at any point in that 21 days, if the Jets, and they have to do it by what, Saturday at midnight, maybe?
Yep.
Saturday at midnight, they can activate him, and usually it's around Saturday afternoon if they do it. You saw that with Jonathan Taylor recently. You'll see it with Justin Jefferson next week. But they can activate him at any point, and he can play for them, meaning Aaron Rodgers could, in fact, come back this year. On a scale of 1 to 10, Deuce, as our resident Jets expert, how likely do you think it is that Aaron Rodgers comes back?
10 being like guaranteed he's coming back.
10 being like he's starting this week, and a 1 being this is all a facade designed to give Aaron Rodgers attention and try to motivate the defense to play well enough to steal a game or two and keep them in the playoff race.
I'm gonna go with a hard 2. Yeah, I know Brady's probably surprised by that answer. I mean,
that
just look at it, right? You got to look at it, right? 21-day window. If you look at the 3 games the Jets have in that 21 game window, right? They have the Falcons at home this week, Texans at home the following week, but it's that 3rd game, right? At the Miami Dolphins on that 3rd game. Like, that would be the game. Now, again, Rodgers could be elevated and come back a week after that, but that would be the game I think a lot of people are circling. I think he even came out and said end of December is where his goal was to potentially come back. He wanted to start practicing around this time. But just from what we've seen from the offense and it being anemic as it is, I mean, will the Jets be able to squeak out 3 in a row? Because that's the only way it makes sense for Rodgers to come back, because if they do win 3 in a row, then they're back in this thing, right? They're back in the thick of the playoff hunt. But if they just drop one of those games, then it's almost for sure over for the Jets in regards to going to the playoffs. So that's why I put it at a 2. I would have put it at a 1. But we've seen crazier things, guys, right? We saw just 2 years ago, or not even 2 years ago, last year, Aaron Rodgers, right? How many games did they have to win in a row to get back in the hunt? And then if they just would have won week 18, the Packers would have been in the playoffs, right? So I think they ended up winning like 5 in a row. Again, Rodgers was quarterback, and that defense was playing a lot better for the Green Bay Packers. So don't be looking at me crazy, Brady.
Yeah, because they're in tough mode this week. It's fair to say that, right? The only way to assure yourself a spot in the playoffs is to win out. You got to get to 10. That's the only way to feel like pretty good about your chances at that point, right?
Yeah.
Given the schedule that you've got ahead of you, because you got the Browns who are going to be a wild card contender. The Dolphins, obviously, right now leading the division. Obviously, they're a playoff spot contender. The Texans, also a playoff contender.
Yeah.
So when you look at those 3 in particular, obviously huge matchups in that context. But I think to assure yourself a spot in the playoffs, you got to win them all. Now, in regards to Rodgers, I don't know that it matters to him necessarily if they're in the playoff hunt or not. I think maybe he just wants to prove to everyone that he can come back in this span of time and do something that we've never seen a professional athlete that I can recall in this short amount of time come back. So I think maybe that's more the motivating factor than anything else. It is interesting that the Commanders game happens to be Christmas Eve. Maybe he wants to give a little early Christmas gift to all those out there who would love to see Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets. So maybe that's kind of where this timeline connects and where it makes some sense to bring him back. But either way, maybe it's about more than that. Maybe it's about him giving Jets fans what they're clamoring for, hoping for, his teammates, his coaching staff, the organization. The last 3 games of the season, if indeed he comes back at the end of this window. And maybe that's what it's about. Just trying to build some momentum into the offseason to prepare for 2024. And so I don't know that it matters quite as much where they're at in the playoff hunt and all that. Maybe he just wants to get in there and play and do what he came to the Jets to do. I will say this, though. I am excited for the media there in New York because, it's going to be fun. Rodgers. Funny. Oh, look at Rodgers as he goes onto the field. He's prancing like a gazelle. It's like Steve Irwin. But you don't think so, Will? You're not feeling this right now? Like,
that was a little British.
Came out of nowhere.
I thought it was a little British, honestly. Was that Australian?
Yeah, I mean, this sounds similar, right? I mean,
have you been watching Love Island Australia? Is that what's going on here?
Goodness.
No, I I would
He
love to
said
go to
it's-
Australia. It wasn't such a long trip, but it still doesn't. It's Rodgers' watch. We're watching for Rodgers to come
Okay,
back in.
it's Rodgers' watch. You got to get. I think you got to get a little deep. Yeah,
It's Rodgers' watch.
crikey.
Yeah, that's
You gotta have that scratchy throat.
Yeah.
Look at him as he goes around the field.
Have you watched
Sequences.
Have you watched Last Stop Laramie on HBO? It's a
Dude, it's football season. All right, you can throw it on.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not watching anything else other than games and tape and games, and every once in a while,
a football guy. He's a football guy. I didn't watch
a real
anything but
football
football.
guy.
Hey, bro, I've got to coach soccer right now outside of my normal work obligations.
Sounds like something that isn't football related to me. Sounds like something that's not football related to me. It's football
So my
season,
point
pal.
was, if I'm watching a television, it's going to be a sports. It's going to be college or NFL football. All right.
Well, I
know
was
you live in this
home.
little box, okay. But
My mom-
we have, our box is bigger. Leger can attribute that. He's
My mom-
also watching all.
My
That's
mom,
the only thing I'm watching is football right
we don't
now.
want to hear about your mom, Will.
my mother, the Reverend Ann Brinson over Thanksgiving. My parents were in Indonesia, as you guys know. They came back and they were like, it's like a 48-hour travel window, and they were loopy as hell. And like my mom got on this thing where she was like roasting everybody. It was just like uncorking. She was like, Will sucks at picking movies. I was like, what the hell, Mom?
Oh my
Like, you're
god!
savage. So I was like, I'm finding something great tonight. I picked Last Stop at Laramie, which is
What's
this
your favorite
HBO.
movie?
What's that?
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite
Ooh.
movie is probably Fletch.
That's it. That's what you're gonna stick by.
What's your favorite
He's
movie?
is that we're gonna stick by.
First off, bad question. It should get to your genre. Like Leger, what's your favorite comedy movie?
Oh, Harlem Nights, not even close.
Oh, okay. All right, that's solid. I mean, Fletch. I guess I'll give you that, Will. If that's what you want to
Give
do.
me Fletch. Fletch is an all-time movie.
Uh,
But point being is Last Stop Laramie is a documentary on HBO about a town in Australia that has 11
You're not
people
talking about
live.
Wyoming.
No. 11 people live there. 11.
Some of us watch college football. I'm just saying. Some of us understand where it's at.
This was on like a Wednesday night, and my parents wanted to watch something. They wanted to watch the NBA. Sorry. They were like, hey, do you guys want to watch some action? They're like, no, pick a movie, dude.
That's
There's nothing wrong with some good action, man.
I love action, but my parents aren't junkies like that. They watch the NFL. Anyway, the point being is there's 11 people that live in this town in Australia. It's all your fault for bringing up an Australian accident, and one of them gets murdered or disappears.
So one of 10 people down under that could
There's
have
only
done
other
it.
9 other There's only what 9
Exactly.
other
But
suspects?
there's no body. He just disappears. It's actually a really interesting. Highly recommend you check it out. And this has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, except that Brady was like, "Oh crikey, look at Aaron Rodgers coming across the field."
I would love to see one of those videos like put together. You know, because wasn't there like a one done about the honey badger? Like do that with like Rodgers coming back though. Like on the
Here's the honey badger. He's one of the world.
We're gonna monitor and see how he's moving, how healthy he is. Is he back to his habitat on the football field and dissecting things?
Have you ever seen the one where what kind of animal is it that's chased by like thousands of snakes up the like across the it's like the mongoose
penguin or something,
It's
right?
the mongoose, right? He's like,
Mongoose,
and the unsuspecting mongoose isn't aware that there are 10,000 rabbit pythons about to eat it, and he like takes off running. You're like, ah! It's like so anxiety filled. Anyway,
funny.
I think it's cool that Rodgers might come back and play, but I think the bigger concern is like, what if he comes back and he like gets hurt again?
That's the thing.
right.
So he went on Pat McAfee's show and said we have to be in contention. I know Brady. It would make sense just knowing the competitor that Rodgers is to say like
Right.
I want to do something that nobody said I could ever do or even think about doing. I mean, he's kind of already defeated that feat, right? As far as like being on the sideline pregame and then throwing pregame like literally a month after having Achilles injuries. Like Brady, we've known guys that have had Achilles tear. They're usually still on that little tricycle like a month out, right? This dude was on the field taking half drop steps, which to
Like
me I've
3 weeks
never
after.
seen. Yeah, so like to me, he's kind of already all the naysayers and everything. He's kind of already defeated that notion as far as being able to just do the bare minimum in that allotted time frame. But playing in a game, Brady, you know this is a whole nother animal, right? Especially I heard you talk about this earlier on HQ, talking about the field turf at MetLife, right? That's where he tore his Achilles. You're talking about being back on that field, not fully healed. Offensive line has been, has struggled this year. Do you really want to put yourself at that risk if the Jets aren't currently in the playoff race?
Well, and Leger, you can speak to this. How many guys have torn up their knee, their Achilles? On that turf,
my ankle was never the same. I hurt my ankle on that turf, and it's never been the same. I have ligament damage. I have necrosis.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at it, right, Raheem Mostert, I believe, messed his knee up. Nick Bosa tore ACL there. Jimmy G ended up having season-ending, I think, an ankle injury there.
I think it was hyperextended, or maybe something like that.
So it's Jalen Phillips just tore his Achilles there. We saw Aaron Rodgers tear his Achilles there. So it's been multiple guys. And I remember when MetLife was first built, and I played there, I want to say in 2011. That's where I hurt my ankle. I got cut block on an ankle, and my other foot was stuck in the ground. And I've had that ankle issue ever since then, and I still have it today. So,
are you serious?
Yeah.
I think that's so underrated. I think that's so underrated. Like how long these injuries linger with you. Like Brady, you and I have talked about this. Like you have, I know it's. I just don't. I don't think that like the average football fan is thinking about how like an ankle injury, like you're dealing with it. What like Brady, your Liz Frank surgery you had. That you
metal in my foot for life, dude. Like I've got to carry
for life.
In case it goes off the metal detector at the airport.
Brady, I know that because we do the podcast. I'm trying to bring light to your suffering as a former athlete because I'm guessing that like not everyone in this podcast is like, oh, of course, Brady Quinn has metal in his foot. Everyone knows that.
Let me give you a great quote to live by, okay? And it's by the one legendary Lou Holtz, all right? I think it goes something along the lines of like,
please say Lou Holtz's voice. Please say.
I was wondering if he was going to do that.
I can't do a good Lou Holtz impression, but 90% of people in the world don't care about your problems. The other 10% are glad you have them. So the whole gist of that is 100% of the people really don't want to hear about your problems. All right. And probably the 10% you probably, shouldn't be telling them about your problems.
I like when people say, how's it going? You're like, I can't complain. Not that anybody would care if I did. I mean, who cares if you complain all you want? Work hard.
I just was trying to be over that. Oh, fantastic. Couldn't be better. All right.
Exactly.
How's the weather? Sure is sunny out, ain't it? Awful chilly out today, isn't it?
All right. What else we got, Will?